Hey everybody, welcome to UHS Library again. It is April and April is National Poetry Month, and it's a month I love. I love to read poetry and I also write poetry. Keeping with some of the type of thing that I've done in other months, when there's a special occasion, I thought I would show you some of the new books that we have added to the library that are related to Poetry Month. So first thing I want to show you is we do definitely have a lot of poetry books in our collection on the shelves back here. And one of the things that we have are collections of poems by just one poet in that book. So for instance, this year, an American poet, Louise Gluck, she won the Nobel Prize for Literature, which doesn't happen that often to writers. There's not that many American poets that have received the Nobel Prize in poetry. And so I wanted to have this collection of her work so that people could refer to that. Another poet that I wanted to have on our shelves is Audre Lorde. African-American poet, feminist, very much interested in liberation. She's no longer alive now, but during her life, she was friends with Adrienne Rich, who is also quite a renowned poet. And you'll hear a lot of contemporary poets, particularly women and African-American poets, talk about Audre Lorde and the influences that she's had on them. She's also an essay writer, and that her essays are in this collected works. So that's a super book to have. Another Nobel Prize winning author was Seamus Heaney, an Irish poet who's beloved in Ireland and well-known here in the United States. And this is nice. It's just 100 of his poems. He's, you could get a very large book if it had all of his poems in them. So this will be on our shelves for people to check out. We also, of course, have some old classics. John Milton, Paradise Lost, which is it's one poem, and it's a large epic in which he retells the biblical story of the angels rebelling against God, and those who rebel being cast down to hell. One of the main figures in this book, which is real interesting, is Lucifer. Plays a main role in this epic poem. And then also I try to add books that are sort of unusual, not by famous people always. And this is by Amira Leon. And she's also interested in Black liberation. There's a picture of her. And I really like this one just because many of them are very short little poems that you could just pick up, read them. You don't have to spend a lot of time with them, but they're kind of thought-provoking and fun and interesting. And maybe we'll get you to write some poems too. So this one will be on the shelf. In addition to books by just one author, of course, there are anthologies, which are collections of poems by many different authors. And so I mentioned this one before during Black History Month. It's edited by Kevin Young, and it's African-American poetry, 250 years. And I wanted to mention it again just because it's a great new collection, really updates some of the older ones that we had. And I heard him speak on a podcast and just say just what an immense labor putting together this book was, how many years he spent on it, but also how much he loved doing it. So I thought I'd mention that. And in a similar way, this is I'm so happy that this has been done by Joy Harjo is the editor, and it's a collection of by Native Nations poetry in the U.S. And North America. So this is a really good collection to have. We needed something like this soon. And then sometimes books of poems, anthologies are around themes. And in this case, it's poetry and medicine, poems about doctors, illness, recovery, patience. So pretty unusual, kind of interesting thing. Often you'll have a collection of love poems or poems about family, but this one is one that really caught my eye. And so it'll be on the shelf. And then I'm going to finish up. The last one is Ink Knows No Borders. And these are poems of the immigrant and refugee experience. And many of these are very well-known poets. I thought I'd read a short one in here called Dear America. And it's by Sholeh Wolpe. She's Iranian American. Dear America, you used to creep into my room, remember? I was 11 and you kept coming night after night in Tehran. slid in from inside the old radio on my desk, past the stack of geometry homework, across the faded Persian carpet, and thrust into me with rock and roll thumps. I loved you more than bubblegum, more than the imported bananas street vendors sold for a fortune. I thought you were azure America, and orange like the sky, and poppies like mother's new dress, and kumquats. I dreamed of you, America. I dreamed you every single night with the ferocity of a lost child until you became true like flesh. And when I arrived at you, you punched yourself into me like a laugh. That was Dear America from Ink Knows No Borders. Thank you for stopping by. And of course, be sure if you want to find more information about UHS Library, just Google UHS Space Library, and that'll take you to our webpage. And you can check out all of our online resources, look at our catalog, find out any information, find my email address, etc. And until we see you again, I hope you have a great spring and end of the school year. Take good care. Bye now.